Herpes zoster is a prevalent viral disease that affects 20 to 30% of the population, and at some point in their lifetime, 20 to 20% of these individuals will have herpes zoster ophthalmicus, which can lead to significant visual impairment in the absence of prompt preventive antiviral therapy. And necrotizing fasciitis is a rare infection which spreads rapidly along subcutaneous soft tissue planes, usually involving the extremities, and only 10% involve the head and neck. Outcome depends on prompt recognition and early treatment. Starting with my history, a 45-year-old male presented with sudden painful diminution of vision with associated redness and photophobia in right eye for 2 weeks. There was no history of any vesicular rash and neuralgic pain, and there were no any complaints in left eye. There was also history of pulmonary tuberculosis which was treated, and the patient was under treatment for chronic deep vein thrombosis. There was also history of fall from stairs 1 month back, following which there was serosanguinous discharge from right eyelid, head and neck region with discoloration of surrounding area, which was diagnosed as necrotizing fasciitis. On culture and sensitivity, Staph aureus growth was seen and surgical debridement was done along with broad spectrum antibiotics. Upon examination, we can appreciate a non-marginal upper lid defects measuring about 5 by 8 centimeter with multiple linear contracture scars involving right upper lid, temple region, preauricular region and the neck area, which led to incomplete closure of eyelid and exposure of cornea. The best corrected visual acuity in the right eye was 2 by 60 and in left eye it was 6 by 6. Upon anterior segment examination, we can appreciate corneal ring infiltrates extending from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock position with dish-shaped central stromal edema, central epithelial defects and few keratic precipitates. Reduced corneal sensations were seen and posterior segment examination was unremarkable. Patient was evaluated for viral infection. Provisionally, patient was diagnosed as PUK with deciform keratitis, and patient was evaluated further for viral infection, immunological disease, and corneal scraping was sent for gram stain, KOH, and Zang smear and PCR analysis. Side by side, patient was started on eye drop prednisolone, eye drop atropine, and fortified tobramycin and lubricants. Upon follow-up, worsening clinical picture. Upon follow-up, worsening clinical picture was seen with increasing corneal edema and Descemet membrane folds could be seen, and there was increasing ring infiltrate. And the autoimmune profile which was sent earlier revealed positive RA factor and positive ANA. And the herpes zoster DNA was detected in PCR sample. So patient was diagnosed as herpetic deciform keratitis and was started on oral acyclovir, eye ointment acyclovir, eye drop prednisolone, eye drop atropine and fortified tobramycin and lubricants were continued. Therapeutic bandage contact lens was applied, and on close monitoring, patient showed healing epithelial defects with decreasing stromal edema and ring infiltrates. A right paramedian upper lid flap reconstruction was done for the contracted scar involving the defect. Upon 6-week follow-up, total healing of epithelial defect was there and no sign of stromal infiltrates was present. We can see healed corneal nebular scar, and upper lid flap was remodeled for gaining upper lid excursion. On 2-year follow-up, patient is maintaining lid closure with best corrected visual acuity of 6 by 36 in right eye. Now moving on with the discussion, herpes zoster is in approximately 50% of patients can lead to significant ocular morbidity and visual impairment in the absence of prompt preventive antiviral therapy. Calhoun et al. Reported ocular manifestations of herpes zoster as adnexal involvement, anterior uveitis, keratitis with corneal hypoesthesia, oculomotor nerve palsy, and optic neuritis with optic disc edema. Corneal involvement included stromal keratitis in 15.6% of patients, epithelial keratitis in 9.8% of patients, and concomitant superficial and stromal keratitis in 5.8% of the patients. Necrotizing fasciitis, as we have discussed, is a rare infection which spreads along subcutaneous soft tissue planes, usually involving extremities, abdominal wall, and groin. 10% involve head and neck, and involvement of eyelid is the rarest. However, eyelid skin is thin with little subcutaneous tissue fat, so necrosis following infection becomes quickly visible. Pattern of infections associated with periorbital NF is different due to high vascularity of the lids. Necrotizing fasciitis is divided into 2 types on the basis of microbiological culture, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is a polymicrobial type caused by both aerobic and anaerobic organisms, and it is mostly seen in trauma and immunocompromised patients, and it is rare in periorbital region. Type 2 NF is caused mostly by single organism such as streptococci or staphylococci or a combination of both. And it is not seen in immunodeficient patients. Presentation of necrotizing fasciitis can be acute periorbital swelling associated with severe pain, erythema of necrotic skin, further extensive subcutaneous involvement, and fluid-filled bullae, which may be confused as herpes zoster ophthalmicus. Wright et al. Reported a case of subacute necrotizing fasciitis of posterior neck, which disguised as herpes zoster infection. Associations can be, there are several case reports of systemic NF following herpes zoster infection, but very few papers have described association of periorbital necrotizing fasciitis with herpes zoster ophthalmicus. Necrotizing fasciitis after herpes zoster. Fung et al. Described periorbital NF in a 63-year-old female with discoid lupus who developed necrotizing fasciitis following cutaneous herpes zoster infection. Kozupoli et al. Described periocular necrotizing fasciitis following shingles in a 70-year-old female with Waldenstrom macroglobulinemia, and there was history of herpetic keratitis. Saldana et al. Reported a case of 59-year male who developed herpes zoster ophthalmicus, and 3 days later he developed periorbital cellulitis which extended to his chest region. Now, case report of herpes zoster after systemic NF. Ha et al. Reported presentation of herpes zoster triggered after necrotizing fasciitis in a 74-year-old male, but the herpes zoster presented as radicular pain with bullae involving the left upper extremity. In our case, herpes zoster was seen after periocular necrotizing fasciitis. Patient presented with peripheral ulcerative keratitis and deciform keratitis, which was seen as a sign of reactivation of herpes zoster triggered after necrotizing fasciitis. There was no history of precedent rash on the forehead, eyelid, and tip of the nose, no sign of previous zoster rash, no characteristic neuralgic pain, or any atrophic hypopigmented scars was there. Bilateral herpetic simplex keratitis can masquerade as peripheral ulcerative keratitis, especially in patients with immune system dysregulation, which can lead to
sum up, please. Your time is
which can lead to diagnostic dilemma, as reported by Pradew et al. In a case of 47-year-old female with history of arthritis and positive ANA factor. Now, the case highlights are herpes zoster manifesting as PUK and deciform PK activated after NF in a seropositive RA patient. Herpes zoster in our case was triggered by surgical debridement of necrotizing fasciitis. So, concluding, reactivation of herpes zoster ophthalmicus can present as corneal involvement without any precedent neuralgia or characteristic herpetic rash as first manifestation of reactivation of varicella zoster virus, and can masquerade as microbial keratitis. Hence, a high suspicion of herpes zoster reactivation should be kept in mind while evaluating for keratitis with negative microbial scrapings in an immunocompromised patient. These are my references. Thank you.
so nice case. Just go to the clinical picture of the patient.
Can we discuss at the end, because I think
Okay,
there is a shortage of time.
Okay.